That was a scene from one of the most anticipated shows in TV, if you will, in the digital space or otherwise. Season 6, the final season of Power. I can't believe this is it. DB, we got two of the main characters here with us today who neither one are strangers to the show. Break it down for them.
Lela Loren's been here before. She talked about some of her past work. I mean, CSI, The Hangover Part 3, and one of my favorites was when she appeared in Reign Over Me. That was one of my favorite movies that, if you haven't seen that film, it's a really, really dope, deep flick. And, you know, obviously Ghost, our good friend Omari Hardwick, who was here last time with Tyler Perry, talking about all the great things and the favors that he did for him and telling some really great stories as well. So Omari Hardwick, Lela Loren here.
Oh, my gosh, they are here.
Bittersweet, though.
What's up, citizens?
Angela's here. Angie's here. Ghost is here.
We here.
I know we got a lot of Power fans. This is it, man. Why am I sad about this?
Well, I think for you, Sway, because you're so into the process, man, and I think that the show was set up by Curtis and Courtney in a great way in terms of allowing the fans to be such a part of the process.
Yeah.
We were a slow burn, but we didn't fall you to sleep.
Not at all.
We kept you excited. And so
absolutely.
Knowing you, Sway, you know, you like the process. You're engaging, bro. You really lock in. And the show allowed people on Sunday night to lock into a very different fantasy.
Yeah.
A very
different fantasy.
Yeah,
I like how you explain that. It is kind of a fantasy.
But it's real at the same time, you know.
It feels like it's happening down the street for me, and I'm watching it on TV. So when Angie got shot, you know the way you yelled out?
Did you scream with me?
Yeah, but not quite like you. Your scream was something different right there, man. That's like your last hamburger fell at the same time. It was like, what? It was all kind of silly. That.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
It was dirty.
What the hell? What did how many screams did he do? Was it that was the first one?
I lost my voice of the you know.
Did you?
Cause you know, Sway, I'm already raspy, so I only got 2 takes to do a primal. It was guttural, bro.
Yeah. You got the medium, you got the wide, the medium, and the close up, right? So
Cause you gotta remember, like Lela's lane, she's there, so I tried to yell away from her ears, like.
Okay.
But it was after that last one. I remember I whispered to her, like, Lela, I got no more. They were like, cool, cut.
That was it. Yeah, that was powerful. That was powerful. What is it like for you, Lela? Like this probably I don't know. You've done a lot of great work. This one has definitely put a spotlight on you as well as an actress. Another spotlight on you. But what is it like when something ends? Because I remember what's the guy named Kit Harington?
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, from Game of Thrones had to go to therapy.
Yeah,
he talked about that
because he had been used to this process that you talk about, Omari, for so many years or so many seasons, and now it's being taken away. What is that like for you?
I guess I'm trying to not. I guess I could say like it's exciting. It's bittersweet in that you develop these really close relationships and friendships. But there's also a part of me that's really excited for the next step and the next thing. And I also feel really grateful because I feel like Power. We completed the story before any of us got tired of what we were doing. And I think that's one of the biggest traps as an actor when you get on a successful show that runs and runs and runs and runs. There's always, we became actors because we love to explore character. And so after a while, though, you start getting the itch to want to explore a new character. And so to get to have it converge where you're ready to say goodbye and it hasn't gotten stale for you yet. And then, you know, obviously there's the panic and the fear of I may never work again or all of that you have to contend with. But I sort of loved the completion. You know, we're ending because we're completing the story, and so that feels good. It feels like we left it all out on the floor, and there's nothing else to give in that sense.
Okay, so you happy to go? All right,
no, that's
not what you're saying. No,
I actually think I think Lela could tell me if I'm wrong, but I think she's understanding. To me, Sway, why you could be upset and sad that it's leaving, because there is a part for the fan base, 9-point-some million fans who feel like it's not over. We weren't. Our thirst was still being quenched.
Yeah.
and it wasn't totally quenched. It was still being, you know what I mean. We were sipping the sauce, and it wasn't a negative thing. It's some shows make you sip the sauce at the end, and you're like, really?
Yeah.
And I think we were still rocking and rolling. And so to Lela's point, I guess as an artist, for you to be able to have to say goodbye, but still know that there was some other.
Yeah.
Then that's not a bad thing, man. Because sometimes you're just trying to sprint away. It's so bad.
Yeah. I like that.
Jumping the shark, you know.
I appreciate a series though that where the storyline ends kind of like accurately, like because there are some shows, I don't want to name anything, but that feel like torture porn. And then in the first season, I read the director wants to create 10 seasons, and I'm like, this is not even a story that should be stretched out that long. Like, why are you being like a mental terrorist?
Yeah, exactly. But sometimes it's insecurity. You know, it's like I said from the gate that the first time I was on this show, I said Sway's room reflects Sway's security. Sway lets all of y'all stand out. You got to remember something. You got people in control who never got in control since they were 6 years old. So now that they are in a position that they're able to have control, quote unquote, their insecurities might make it where they are becoming as mental as you just described. And everybody's now got to be a victim to where they still are. And I think that we had an environment that was secure enough where everybody was rooting for everybody's everything and not just a little minimal part. That's what I said to you. From the moment I stepped in here, I was like, your room is that of your security. So Lela, myself, Joseph, Torey, and everybody else that's on the cast, we always want to be on a set where the leaders are secure, because it can be treacherous when they're not.
When it's not. Well, like, give me an example without naming names of a set that you might have experienced that. What did you experience?
What you end up going through is you're limited, first of all, in being able to do that which they hired you for, Sway, which is counterintuitive. They hire you, you're the actor, so you're hired to flip the burgers. They're hiring Lela to do the fries. But then all of a sudden our jobs get mixed, and you go, that's not my position. I'm supposed to be doing this. But because they're wherever they are in terms of their security or insecurity, then you become kind of, definitely we've had jobs where you're like, I'm just here. All right. Yeah. What do I do next? Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me, Captain, what do I do?
Yeah.
You feel like you're shucking and jiving a bit.
Yeah. You're dialing it in.
Which is not, as an artist, bro.
Nah, you don't want that. I get it.
And then y'all don't want that.
No, we don't want that either. Then we won't have nothing to talk about because you wasn't really there.
Right.
So,
you was truly a ghost.
Yeah, you were truly a ghost.
And, and Courtney and the writers, they had a very specific arc and story with a beginning, middle, and end for Power. And so if you added more seasons, and you're padding and fluffing and you're taking away from the power of the storytelling. And so I think when you guys get to see season 6 and how it ends and comes into fruition, I think I think your thirst will be quenched.
Okay.
Our thirst will be quenched. Thank you, Lela.
Like Sway, was it you wanted Michael to end on the 45? You didn't want Washington Wizards, did you want Washington Wizards?
Don't talk about my man MJ like that. That ain't the analogy I want. I got a picture.
It ain't a bad analogy though.
But it's a good analogy. I give you that.
You know what I mean? Like I think it's dope. I think Lela's right. It's dope if people were mad at Game of Thrones at their ending, which I didn't see. I still haven't seen it, but I would be very humbled and proud if the fans walked away and gone, I like it so much that I just want Power to come back 20 more seasons. That means we left you. That's awesome.
In a great place.
The spin-offs, right? They continue the storytelling. It passes the baton, but it's not watering down the thing you've got, the original, to extend it.
Yeah.
It's getting to go and have new life and go in its own direction.
There are a lot of people who are confused about just what you said, the spin-offs. The final season.
They are confused.
Okay, can you bring it? Wait, hold on. I got one on the line with me right now that's confused. Ryan from Indiana. Ryan, you ready for this, Ryan?
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah. Because 50 is saying one thing. He's saying this is not the final season, but you all are kind of, segueing it into it is. So, I mean, like, not to give everything away, but what's really going on? Like, just give me a few here's.
You want to talk to him, Al?
I think what was announced, so I can't say this, is that this season we did 15 episodes. And so it'll air the first 10 like normal, and then there'll be a break. And then the last 5 will air, I think, in the beginning of the
January.
January. And so it's going to be, when he says the final, he means that little extra bonus. So it's like
Ryan, you're asking.
So put a carrot out there.
So you're asking if the the spinoffs, how can they exist if we're calling it the final season? Is that what you mean?
Well, I wasn't aware of the spinoffs. I just know that 50 kind of reneged. He said it was the final season, then he turned around and said that it wasn't. So I didn't know of any.
Lela nailed it. So when he reneged, he meant the January show. You'll see 5 episodes. It really was for the fans. We could say that here with Sway, and Sway's team. It was for the fan base. We always end in March. This year we worked till June for everybody. We just kept going so that you guys could feel like some of that thirst that we talk about being quenched was quenched. So you'll see January 5 episodes.
Okay, Ryan, you got that, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and then is there there was rumors that there's a spinoff about Ghost and what happens to Ghost post this season 6 of Power. Yeah. That's what they said.
I didn't even see B.
I was talking to
B.
I was talking to L.
You were talking to L?
I was talking to LL right here. I know you. I saw that face. I'd seen that face before.
So the origination of the story. Tell me if I'm right, Lela. The origination of the story, as you know it, where you had the Power season 1. On into the castmates that you knew, that you saw when you're watching on Sunday night. That is the Power that everybody will always associate the network carrying. Stars had a show called Power. Mm-hmm. But there were so many different stories of each individual character that were not necessarily flushed out enough. The spinoffs come out of that. So individual characters are broken into storylines that are called the spinoff. But the origination of the show that we all love to work on and that you all love to support, that is the season 6 coming to an end. It's original.
It's like Power had babies, and hopefully the babies get to go to college. And don't die of tuberculosis when they're 6 years old.
That's
you know how they had Cheers and then they had Frasier.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Yeah. Nailed it.
You nailed it. Mm-hmm. That is it. Perfect.
Okay.
Heather, we nailed it.
That worked. Okay, cool.
And he rocked. Frasier rocked.
Shout
out to Kelsey Brown.
That's key though. Frasier got to rock though, because sometimes spinoffs don't rock.
Frasier got to rock.
Yeah.
Well,
Frasier.
that's the bar, and there's a really high bar.
That's why I said
Yeah.
hopeful is the operative word, and we feel stupidly humble that you just said he's got to rock, because our Cheers rock, bro.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
All of it worked. As 50 always says, it worked.
Mm-hmm. 50, I thought brought a whole new look to what it means to be an EP, because the way he assisted the popularity of the show just by his being, his presence alone kept the conversation going. Not that it needed it, but it definitely didn't hurt, to have somebody like that so out there in the public eye, being a part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Have y'all ever experienced that kind of EP prior to Power?
Well, I mean, no, because Power was also my first big job, so it's also you have nothing to compare it to, and so now it's also, I mean, it's sort of spoiled.
He's spoiled. I definitely have had EPs, obviously prior, but no,
nothing like that.
Yeah, because 50 doesn't play by the rules.
He doesn't.
It's just free.
He would say when we do the table reads, which I don't know if we've said it to you, Sway, but shout outs to Courtney for always making us, and we didn't always want to, but she made, no matter what city you were in, if you weren't working on the day of the table read, you still had to get on a plane and fly back to New York for the table read.
If you were a series regular, it was mandatory.
Even if you then were allowed that night to fly right back to respectively wherever you flew in from.
Wow.
Really?
So it allowed for, because there's so many writers in the room that aren't necessarily on paper writers, you know what I mean? So you got Joe and I come from theater, as you know. Mm-hmm. Lela and I are both writers, both poets. 50 obviously is a producer. Joseph is a writer, screenwriter. So a lot of the leads, at least, were so cerebral in our processes, so that her doing that allowed for our processes to be understood a little bit better in terms of when we went to set by that following week. We kind of had already done our first rehearsal, which was called the table read. Mm-hmm. It's probably why you guys felt the chemistry that you felt that other shows don't necessarily present to you. They don't do table reads. They're not mandatory. Mm-hmm. Every table read we were at consistently for 6.5 years.
Well, because when you shoot a show, it's like a patchwork quilt that's all mixed up. And so you don't, to get to hear it chronologically, and you get to hear the arc of everything and the pace and the intensity, it helps you then form your own decisions. Because the characters on Power are so separate, so we film that all separately. There's actors on Power that I only ever get to see
at the table
unless
read.
they're at the table read. Mm-hmm. And so it creates a cohesive storytelling. Because have you ever seen movies where you're like, this is great, except this dude's like in his different movie doing his own weird thing. Yeah. And so I think it just helped everybody. It made it feel like a company.
And from a leadership perspective, just in terms of, Sway 50 and Courtney hired me as the Tom Brady.
Yeah.
So from that position, you realize that everybody in life, all of us who have kids, we get it. Every child, though wanting discipline, and every adult wants discipline equally, we want a pat on the back. So to Lela's great point, once you're at the table read, it's your opportunity with the cast members you haven't worked with yet. Mm-hmm. You get to pat them on the back. Mm-hmm. So everybody works better. People work better when they're happy. The table read did afford for a common thread of people feeling celebrated, and allowed the writers to be celebrated, who are often underrated. The acting's overrated when the writing's that good. So it was kind of a dope thing it was a dope thing that Courtney created. And 50 would say every time we did the table read, he'd say, we'd introduce ourselves, and he'd say 50 Cent, exec producer, Kanan, and marketing head. Because your point is he helped market the show.
Yeah, man.
Just being 50.
Y'all don't owe him any money, do you?
No, I paid him back.
No, you paid him back?
Remember?
Okay, you told me.
I told Angie Martinez I paid him back.
You
right?
paid him back, right?
Yeah.
Lela, you good?
I don't borrow money.
Okay, good, cool. All right.
Don't borrow money.
DB, you want to talk to him? Omari Hardwick is here. Lela Loren is here. Go ahead.
I want to ask about guest stars, because you have somebody who's like Kendrick Lamar, who doesn't have the acting experience, but he's big in the rap world.
Yeah.
And then you have somebody like a Lorenz Tate who comes on board, who does have the acting experience, but he's still joining the cast. He's not the lead of the show. Right. So some people might have a problem with humbling themselves and like putting their pride aside and asking, like Kendrick maybe saying like, how do I do these lines or make this scene better? Mm-hmm. Do you ever have maybe not issues, but like dealing with people like that who come on board and you're like, you want to make them feel welcome and bring them on board
I brought Lorenz on, so that's an easy answer.
Lorenz Tate, yeah, he was
Lorenz,
killing it too.
Lorenz Tate was, when I was a kid, as a black actor for our generation, I definitely looked at Idris as I got older, Idris. But when I was a kid, and Sway can speak to this, being from Oaktown and me from A-Town, so similar in our upbringing, Wood Harris and Lorenz were a lot for me. And I got to throw in Mekhi Phifer. I got to throw in Omar Epps. But when I was starting and letting the football go, those guys were emblematic for me for what I felt I could do, even if I learned I could do more in many ways, as Lorenz has often complimented me with saying, in terms of my range. But I felt he needed to be on the show. I didn't think I could be in this position and not pay it forward for a lot of the people that were predecessors to this journey called Omari as an actor. So I went to Courtney by season 2. She said no. I went to her by season 3. She said no. Season 4, I was doing a podcast with he and his brothers, Lamar and Laron. She saw a picture of us, and she said yes, a picture. So I just felt he needed to be on the show, and I thought he would help a lot. I thought his fan base would come with, and Courtney, Courtney definitely believed in that, and they've developed a great relationship. And so I was extremely proud that somebody that I looked at when I was younger, who is as legendary in the characters of O-Dog and Darius Love Hall, and that he could be on this show with us. In terms of Kendrick, he's just naturally a great actor. You either have it or you don't. You got a lot of kids that go to acting class forever and make a lot of acting coaches rich, and they can't do shit. So you either have it or you don't.
That's so real.
But
he can act.
And speaking of like humbling yourself, I think it's I would look at it slightly different, where what we do is we play, and people want to come play. Yeah. Like even if it's outside of their genre, to get to go do that and like,
they
flesh
hate
out.
leaving the show, right, Lela?
What's that?
They hate leaving the show.
Yeah.
It's the greatest compliment to us. They hate leaving it.
They have a great, because you get to be creative and play, and it's fun. And so it's not really a bit about humbling yourself. It's like getting in the playground, getting your hands dirty, and trying on something new, and expanding what you think you could do.
And I think he makes I think you and Lela make a really great point in conjunction, because from that perspective, and whether Lela, who's from the Bay Area like Sway, was watching.
She's from Sac, yeah.
You're
almost cool. Sac is cool. No, Sac is cool.
Armpit.
No, Mozzie made it cool. Y'all good now.
Yeah, Mozzie's from there. But whether she was watching Lorenz or not, DB, I think you make a really great point, because a lot of people wouldn't have humbled him. But also think about it now. But I wouldn't be close to him if he didn't have humility. You know what I mean? I can curse on this show. I can't remember.
Try it. Let's see what happens.
So I wouldn't have fucked with him if he wasn't humble. So, but then I think Lela too is making a great point, because at a point that he came to the show, there's perhaps the reality that he had to go through, perhaps a humility that I wasn't necessarily a part of, in terms of being able to bring him on as an actor. As a friend, I've known him for years, so maybe he was going through that level of process while I knew him. But in the position I was in to aid him in coming on the show, he was, as Lela said, he was game to play, man. And for her to name his character the same last name that he actually carries as a person just speaks to the fact that Tate name is big enough where you can make his character equally Councilman Tate. So that speaks to the work he had prior done. It's huge.
Wow, man. Omari Hardwick, Lela Loren are here. We're talking about the season 6 final season of Power, airing August 25th on Stars. Hey, man, you a poet too?
She writes too. She be trying to hide it.
No time to come to the playground. Come to the sand pit and play with us right now. You want to do something? Sandbox, okay.
It said sand pudding.
Sand pudding. I was trying to get it together, damn it. Everybody knew what I meant. You got something you could do?
No.
No? All that shit she was talking about playing in the sandbox. Okay.
Yeah, I write it. I don't spit it.
So season 1.
That's fair enough.
Season
what up,
1,
Omari?
she was writing.
She was writing?
Like, she was really writing season 1. Because season 1, everybody was trying to, obviously, Torey comes from music, and Joseph is a graffiti artist, as you know. So we were all very artistic, but we learned that Lela and I were trying to, obviously, in learning Angie and Ghost and their relationship, we learned that we were both sort of writing at times about Ghost, from the poetic standpoint, as Ghost in his voice and as Angie in her voice. So
no, if I'm honest,
we were writing that stuff.
If I'm honest, Omari wrote this poem about Ghost, and there was like that little competitive part of me that was like, oh hell no, you're not gonna be the only one gonna write a poem. I'm gonna write a poem here.
Yeah, and you wrote the poem about Angie?
Angela, yeah.
Yeah, she's a great poet.
Can I hear your Ghost? What did you write that time?
Man, I'd have to find that.
I'd have to
dig
find
that up
it's
too.
like deep.
Okay. It's the last thing you wrote.
You know what? I think it's still in my phone.
I probably wrote some shit on Fat. I wrote a Fat Joe for the podcast.
If someone gives me my phone, I can pull it out.
Who got her phone?
Get her phone. There, get her phone.
Definitely got her phone.
And that's how we're gonna end the show today too. Thank you, Lela. Well, thank you for playing in our sandbox.
Yeah.
She's a writer. She's a poet. She don't talk about it now.
Okay, that's all right.
I'm trying to find out whether
what we're doing.
Did you know Lela? You know Lela was a poet. Look at her. She looks baby.
Okay, come on, man. Love Jones too, man. Let's get it going. Love Jones too.
Yo, if you spit right now, Sway, with all the citizens listening,
all right.
This might be dope.
Okay, here we go.
Let me see.
Look at that, how long that joint is.
All right.
Angela, the girl who has clipped her wings, high and tight. She fits in now and walks right. Her discipline replacing feathers, but no matter how she plucks at her skin, that song she sings remains within, quiet, like a Sunday breeze. She climbs higher and higher, craning her neck to spy above the clouds. She has forgotten she can fly, that her meridian is also wide. Her heart beats, an oil drum lacking dew where the soft down used to be. Brittle, hungry, she pounds herself into a box too small, but her light shines through, just a flicker instead of the blaze that once drew in the ghost of St. Patrick's past, coaxing the snakes out of the Eden under the rubble of Queens. Eyes wide but blind, writhing and entwined, shedding their skins, hoping to find their innocence again. Though it may be on the wrong end of the morality stick, and it will come hard and thick. But as we know, everything that rises must converge, and so she climbs, one step at a time, and slowly comes undone to the beat of that oil drum, her heart, keeping time on that jagged line where we lose our grasp of grace and have to face the truth of our doings, alone, without angles. And may it please those fallen angels that she too will know what it means to be without her beloved, bed empty after use, and still she, Angela, longs for the flesh of a ghost not seen, felt in a dream, and so her wings cropped in and pulled in tight, she climbs into night.
That's crazy.
Gosh, that was incredible.
Yeah.
Give it up.
Yep.
Citizens.
What the hell just happened right there?
And you know what's crazy? is those were written season 1. So when you hear that, it sounds like she's writing knowing the season 6.
Yeah, we hadn't started filming
We hadn't
yet.
started filming. That's just that's before day 1.
Homework.
That's
So
before
it was just homework. So we learned each other's process. Joe and I are very theater once they say action. Lela and I were writers. So we thought, go into the characters we have to play and then write what you feel that character. And then kind of when you think about the storyline,
That's
follows.
exactly what it is. On that
Wow.
edge, in that box, but still.
That was before day 1.
That was before day 1.
Yeah.
And that was just really like, you don't get to just write a poem and be the poet.
Yeah. And that's you was really being competitive against some Omari. And just come out with okay, I see what that is. Well, that was amazing, Lela. Thank you for sharing that with us.
you.
Okay, normally we have Omari spit some, but I'm gonna let you get the spotlight.
No, that's
today.
hot. That's
Okay,
hot. I wanted her to share that.
I saw you
I
too.
also don't even know if people know that she's, you know what I mean? That side of, the
what's
cast got
up.
a lot of colors to it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad that people are interested in the other things going on with the castmates.
Well,
It's super
people,
cool.
you guys implanted on us, you know, and so I think that's why we're all sad to see it go. But I think we're all happy for each of you as individuals and as actors, even for 50 as an EP. And I know
killed
you
it,
guys
didn't he?
are celebrating
He killed it,
tonight.
man.
Yeah, he definitely did.
killed it.
Tonight, right? The guard,
Yeah,
Madison.
tonight. So you coming?
I'm gonna be there.
right.
DJ Vaughn always on DJs for 50. He's gonna be there
Word.
too. You gonna be DJing tonight? You taking the night off? Okay, he's being lazy.
Good,
He just
good,
came to watch.
good.
But
Watch
that's
it,
at
watch it.
Madison Square Garden. The premiere will be
Yeah,
taking
enjoy
place.
it, right?
Yeah, EPMD is gonna be there, right?
EPMD rocking.
Okay.
I think 11,000 showing up. Sway. That's
11,000.
So amazing, bro.
11,001.
Yeah.
There it is, man.
There
I
it
want to
is.
thank y'all for coming by.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Sway.
Lela, that's my brother. This man is one of the few people that I've met through this music, through entertainment circles that naturally hits me randomly still to this day to say, you good? How you doing, brother? How's the family? Love you.
That's rare.
If nothing
Really
else, it's
beautiful.
just that. You know, and so I appreciate that,
I appreciate
man.
you too, Sway.
Absolutely.
Always,
man.
brother. I
Just-
love you.